Well, thanks for having us. Hello to those of you at home, particularly my mum. I'm Rob McLeod. I'm client partner for Comet Global Consulting in the financial services vertical. My colleague Alistair Ewig will introduce himself in a bit more depth shortly. I'm more of the sleazy sales, he's more of the geeky, pointy-headed guy. So today's story... Neither of them, I'm not painting either of them very well here. Tonight's pack, we've tried to give it a softer side to it because we know the majority of the audience here are data professionals or aspiring data professionals, and we know you know about equations, and we know you know about numbers, and we know you see that every day. So we've tried to be light-hearted, and what we've wanted to give you is a bit of an insight into the world that we work in, predominantly with financial services from the examples, but we've got some FS and we've got some manufacturing and some consumer aspects in here. And it's really to give you a window into the world of data as we see it, and the world where customers are keen to buy and keen to engage, and that we think is important. It ties with our partners at MBN in terms of where they're looking to find people. So there's everything in business needs to have a commercial angle to some degree. So that's what we'll talk to you about. A bit about us. So we work today for Comet Global Consulting. It was acquired a year ago by Merkle, which is one of the largest consultancy practices in the world. And we're just in the process of becoming Merkle. So relatively soon you won't really see the Comet brand so much. You'll see us, we're all still there. We'll just be part of Merkle. We are a data-driven, technology-focused practice. We're about orchestrating the opportunity and the strategy around data and technology to drive customer opportunity. And if you want to simplify it into 10 digits, it's about B2B and B2C becoming B2P and business-to-people marketing, business-to-people communications, engaging with a customer on a one-to-one basis. And I heard there was going to be 101 people here tonight, so I have got 101 slides, so there's one for each and every one of you. You just got to work out which one is for you. So, now for the good bit.
Okay, hi, so I'm Alistair. As a way of introduction, my data career has spanned three main phases. So I started my data career as a theoretical physicist. So we started by doing large-scale physics simulations. So we'd use the fundamental equations of physics with large computers, and we'd measure, properties of matter. So that was my starter for 10. And then I moved to being a product manager in a software company, but it was an analytics software company, so we'd still be using data to understand customers now rather than particles or physics. And we'd still be measuring stuff, but instead of measuring mass and different kind of quantities, we'd be measuring, customer churn rates or customer response rates. And so the third phase of my data career has been involved in taking all the deep insights that we might have built in the analytics world and using them in real time to change customers' experience. So this is the customer decisioning world. And so then now I find myself at Comet. I'm working on a project with a large bank the west of Edinburgh. I've been there for the last couple of years. And so my talk today is a little bit about banking, a little bit about omnichannel. So in terms of why we picked this title, there's three main parts to this title. So there's omnichannel, there's holidays, and there's banking. So, omnichannel in our industry is a buzzword that's got out of control. So nobody understands what it means. Everybody means something different by it. So within Comet, we wanted to talk a little bit about what it means to us and to try and, understand it a little bit and explain, what we mean. So that was a start. So my boss said to me, you have to write a blog about omnichannel. In fact, we're going to write a series of blogs to try and explain it in different ways. That was one angle. So everything we have to talk about is about omnichannel. So the other thing was I'd just come back from a holiday. So my holiday was an omni-transport holiday. So omni-transport for me, we like transport. So we got the train, we got the bus to Waverley, we got the train to Penzance, we got the bus to Land's End, we got the train back to Bristol, we got a boat across Bristol. Who knows, you could get boats in Bristol. We flew back to Edinburgh and we got a taxi back to house. So for my family, transport or travel is that's how we spend our time. And so I was kind of, so really today I'm just going to show you my holiday photos. I'm sorry if that's going to disappoint you, but it's a trick that all blog writers make. So, you try and get out of your little bubble, my little CRM bubble, and try and think what it's like to be a normal person, and to try and, experience what it's like to go on holiday. And, so while we're doing this, you have to do, I was planning this holiday, I did a lot of research online, I had to book stuff, I got lots of notifications, I had to, book accommodation and travel. And I thought it was interesting, but it felt, very transactional. I was still having to do all the work, and that's okay, I'm a travel geek as well as a CRM geek, and so I was quite enjoying that, but I was a little disappointed. So I thought, could omnichannel help make that a better experience? So the banking side of it, we've got omnichannel and travel. Well, so for me, while I love my family, they're just spending money. So I think travel is it's not really about the experience, it's all about spending the money. And I thought, who can help me better spend my money or save my money than the bank? The banks probably know more about me and how I spend my money than anyone else. So they must be able to do a better job than me, than spending my money. So having this kind of science background, I thought, well, rather than try and solve the real problem, I'll create a little toy model. I'll create this. What would an omnichannel experience look like, which I think would be better in the bank, helping me with my life. So that's what I'm going to talk you through now. My pictures are all about this kind of made up journey. So I think what I'd like, this is what I'd like the bank to be able to help me with. So I think, while the bank could help me travel, it really starts a long time before I'm even thinking of going on holiday. So I wanted the bank to make use of the statements they send me every month, actually, help me think about what I might travel. So in this case, I'm encouraging my bank to put some pictures of how I spent my money in the past. So a little bit of an encouragement to help me remind me about what's happened in the past and all those great things I've done with my money. And so the idea is that the bank's remembering me and helping me remember those good times, but it's also getting me to think a little bit about how I might spend my money in future. So again, we'll have trains in our house, so what are the train travel trips we're going to do in the future. And I think this one, timing's important. So obviously you don't want to remind people too close to the time they've just spent the money, because there's a bit of a sticker shock. Did it really cost me that much to go on holiday? So you want to kind of move away from that bit so everyone's forgetting a little bbit, but you don't want to leave it too long before the kind of the distant memories fade. So I want to use the statements that we all get to help build these personalized experiences. And then again, I wanted to try and get the bank to use email. So rather than sending me emails about my mortgage, I wanted it to send me something interesting, something that I might find useful. So in this case, I've got a little email that's been sent, and it's been sent kind of reminding me that great times are coming. And so for me, I might think I'm an individual, I've got great ideas and I'm unique, but in fact I'm very predictable. So I've got children, so I always go on holiday and school holidays, so my time windows are fixed. And I always go to the same places. I always go to Victorian seaside towns that I can get to by public transport. So there's not that many of them. So in this case, the bank has decided that Penzance, Scarborough and Southport are the interesting places to suggest to me, and maybe they'd use some big data analytics to figure out that's what people like me want to go and see. And so this is maybe getting this email might just be enough for me to pique my interest, and maybe I click on one of these things and I find out some more information. So the bank's starting to learn a little bit of me as well as kind of engaging with me. So my holiday's kind of progressing. I've still not done any booking. I've still not done anything I've not done any traveling yet. So I'm still doing my online banking. But the bank's using information about what I've seen in the past, and it's saying, imagine if you come and visit us in Penzance. What would that be like? Because they've taken the insight from me clicking on the Penzance link in the original email. And what about all the other things that the bank can do for you? We've got this great partner programs. We can save you some money. So again, using my day-to-day banking experience to try and bring that to life a little bit and try and continue to engage with me. So my planning continues, and one of the things I really hated about my planning was the accommodation booking side of things. It was a nightmare. There's lots of nice aggregator sites, but they all have the same content. They all have the same hotels, and they're all offering similar deals. And it didn't seem like it was all the deals. I know there's lots of other whether it's B&Bs or different styles of accommodation that weren't in these booking aggregators. So I want the bank to help me find interesting places to stay. So I want the bank to use the information it knows about its customers where they're booking in the place I want to go, because it knows I'm heading kind of towards Penzance at a particular time frame. So I wanted to use that, and I wanted to use, what companies are, what businesses are, providing accommodation there, and I want it to help me, find something interesting. So it's a little bit, personalised insights for me based on what it knows. So, again, I'm kind of using the app to do all these things. And then I finally start to travel. Okay, so I'm on the train. I've got 12 hours on a train from Waverley to Penzance, and I've got 2 children. So the kids are relaxed. They're on their tablets. You can see their mum is getting relaxed with their gin and tonics. So obviously travel is all about traveling, and it's about enjoying yourself. So we have to go to the buffet car to help that travel pass. I've gone and made a purchase in the buffet car, and the banks thank me, give me a little reminder to say, thank you for spending that. And you can see, we've only probably got to Newcastle, and we're already, buying a little bit more booze to help the travel continue. And so I think from the perspective of what the bank could do with that insight. So they, again, they know I'm on a train. They could see I'm moving quite a lot. Maybe my app is telling me that. Maybe there's another little a little mobile push message to say, don't forget, you might be on the train, but we still partner with the people on the train. You get a nice discount. We can see how you're spending your money just now. So again, kind of using the information they have and doing that in a more time-relevant fashion for me. So I'm only going to be on this train for a certain amount of time. And so while the kids are enjoying themselves and their mum's enjoying themselves, so maybe I'll use the bank's app. And so the bank, I'm wanting the bank to start to, suggest interesting things for me to do. So I'm heading, on my holidays, and they know where I'm going. And maybe they have some suggestions of things that I could do, and maybe they have some suggestions where, again, they have some relationships to help me, make better use of my holiday when I'm down there. So everyone's happy. The offers are coming and becoming more relevant. So I arrive at my destination, and Penzance is literally at the end of the earth, end of the UK. Find a way. So. The bank has realised, I've just got out of the station, and they realise that in fact there's not a lot of, cash machines. In fact, nobody knows about contactless down in Penzance. It's, the end of the earth. So you better take your chances while you're here to get some cash out. So as I'm passing the cash machine, I get a little text message to say, watch out, get the money out while you got your chance. This is the best way to do it. So again, using it, but where the bank knows where I am to make those offers, to make sure I'm better serviced and not caught out. So I think that, so now you can see that I'm completely dependent on my mobile phone, especially since I'm traveling around. And so in my real holiday last October, our lowest point was that we were in Bristol, and my phone ran out of juice, and we weren't close to home, and I thought we could walk home, because I thought, well, we could just keep walking, and in fact we couldn't. So I think running out of juice was a real low point, and so I'd like my bank to help me with some mobile charging wherever I go. That seems like a good service that we could all make use of, and it would keep us going. So again, the timeliness of those offers, having the bank, having the properties that are there. So what? So I've tried to show you my little toy model. I've kind of made up an omni-channel experience. I've used statements and emails and mobile push messages and SMS messages, and I've used the branches themselves to communicate with me. So it kind of makes me think, so the toy model has a purpose, and so with all in physics, the toy models have a reason. So I think that the toy model made me realize that omnichannel is not actually about the channels at all. The channels are just kind of the way of delivering these messages, but I think omnichannel is more about the insights that you use and the data you have, and the insights to drive those those messages, or the timing of those things. And I think that's what omnichannel is really about. And so I think it's not just about the insights. It's actually about my data and my individual data. So I think it's about small data. So I know I'm not allowed to say small data when it's all about big data, but I think for me, as a selfish person, it's really my data that I'm interested in. And that's the thing that makes a difference to me. And in some senses, I think big data is the evil. That's what organizations use to, trick me into doing things. So I think, big data is evil, and maybe I'll be asked to leave the building at this point. So it's about insight and it's about small data, but I think this is it's kind of too simplistic. So I think in reality, the little toy model that I've produced is, there might be lots of terrible ideas in there, and the banks would never decide to do many of these things. But I think the banks have the capabilities to do all this today. They have the data warehouses where they're collecting all this information about how you spend your money and how you use their services. They've got the data wrangling tools to go and spot events and identify when certain things are happening. They've got the customer decisioning solutions and tools that we work with in Comet to allow the connection to be made between that data and those insights with customers themselves and the channel. So they've got all the bits. They maybe don't know it, but I think it's not so much the banks can't get away with just holding my data. In fact, they have to invest in big data because they have to hold it for all their customers, and they have to hold it in a way that's immediately accessible. So that timeliness of access to data, and becomes a big data problem in itself. So I think I was going to stop there with my small data, big data controversy, and hand over. Are you going to take it?
So, my daughter, she's 5 years old, and she had to do a school project recently, and I was trying to explain what a consultant working in the world of customer decisioning does to a 5-year-old. And the way that I summarised it, which I think is quite useful, I said, well, we help organisations be nice to their customers. And really what's that about? It's about using data to help a business be able to treat the customer in the way that the customer wants to be treated. And the commercial secret that I'm going to give away now is that really, for a business that grasps this, they'll find the commercial return, because if you get a happy customer, you get a customer that wants to engage with you greater, longer, etc. So, my story. I'm going to tell you about life, right? So you start off in life, you go to school, excuse the pun, then you get a job, or maybe you go to university first, then you get a job. When you get a job, you're aiming towards a pension, and you're going to start life straight away and pay money into that pension, and you're going to be saving for all those other things in life that you want to do. You're going to fall in love, you'll get married, you'll get your first home, then children, then you'll need a bigger house, and then the nest is empty, and you can retire, great. And then you can live life on a great sunny beach somewhere, or sail a boat, which would be my preference. But in reality, you might just want to sit on a bench and retire, and then you die. Repeat. So, unfortunately, the reality, which in my experience a lot of financial services and other organisations are yet to grasp, is that it's not quite so rosy, and life for people isn't quite the same. There's a lot of old people who've got a lot of time on their hands and not necessarily being served things. We've got the generation divide. It's doom and gloom. I'm going to walk around a bit so I don't get to crook neck looking at the slide. You've got people who are really tech savvy, and you've got people living in the world with old tech. You've got people who've got challenges in job security. We've got a problem in the housing market. We've got building projects on hold. And then we've got people who might not be able to buy a house straight off. They've got to live in a rental, and that rental is effectively empty because they can't afford anything else. It's doom and gloom. They've got to save, and probably not got as much money as they want for the house that they want. So it's, there are 1 million people today who are aiming for a home that will never be able to buy a home in the UK. Their piggy banks are falling on the floor, and there's nothing in them when they smash. This is gonna be the epitome of their retirement. And the harsh reality is there'll be people who've got to make the choice between whether they have the TV on or whether they put the heating on. That's the way life is today. So not everybody's got that path that you go through that I showed you briefly a minute ago, where you start saving into your pension from day one. And then a lot of organisations that are in the pensions business would typically shut off to you because you're not saving in the pattern that they want, or you don't seem to be a valuable customer. But there's truth in data. Right or wrong, not everyone's going to start saving for their pension when they're as my kids. There is a generation gap. There'll be the people who could travel. There's the people who are spending all their money today and living for today and not tomorrow. It's a bit gloomy still, but they'll start to get brighter in a minute. It's the truth's in the data, as you guys know. The fact of the matter is, and the truth that's in the data is, different people walk different paths and choose different paths. And the more things that are available to them as consumers and that life throws at them means they walk down different paths. People plan things differently. People choose to shoot different balls and pull. This is a really lame slide compared to some of them are, right, I tried hard. You don't know what direction people are going to go in. You could think they're going to drive down a road one way or another, or they could do donuts. You know, you really don't know. And then there are those people who might just want to save. They're just focused on saving. And there's those who are desperate to get into the house and will do that. And there's others who their priority is about the fast car. And that's a big shift that we've seen in 20 years in terms of how much people will want to put into cars and to keep up with the Joneses and to go into prestige vehicles. And we've seen that be something that's battling against what people are saving for. Or they want to go on holidays, or they want 4 holidays a year instead of the one holiday a year that they had previously. Not everyone, some people have got a nest egg and others don't have so much. Some are saving for rainy days, and sometimes that rainy day needs to be coughed up to give a handout to the jilted generation. It's all in the data. There are some who are going to have a great retirement, and the average person who owns a home today will have 26 years where they're effectively living rent-free in the world. So when I go back to the doom and gloom, you factor how are these pension companies going to ever be able to help someone, but you know they're not paying in as much? Well, if you get to the point there's 26 years where someone's going to live without paying rent, you could potentially catch up quite a lot. £800 a month is the average that someone's paying into a mortgage right now. On 26 years, you can see there's quite a potential for someone to catch up if they're fortunate enough to be in that housing ladder and not like the less fortunate. So they can afford their holidays. The truth's in the data. That was that story. The next story is about the digital divide. Lots of companies have made the great leap into digital because they see that's where the money is. They've gone online. 24% of transactions last year in the UK were performed online. That represented £170 billion. 24%. What does that tell you? Right. Shops and other things are still important. So businesses that think they've just got to be digital, missing a trick for a while or two yet. It's not all about cash, obviously. Again, truth in the data. People are moving to new forms of payment. Gives us richer data. Allows us to understand more. Ties into Alistair's story. But last year, the offline value of consumer transactions in the UK was apparently, not my numbers, I lifted them, 520 billion. Truth's in the data. Different people plan different ways. You don't know what path they're going to end up. I'm getting really loose on these. I use 500px. If anyone does it, you just type one word and it gets you an image. If it looks nice, I've used it as the slide today. Credit. This one's about predictive analytics. So I'm saying, you don't know where people are going to go. You need to analyze the data, and you need to and come up with your predictive patterns, and then you need to test and learn from it. I'm now going to draw breath and show you our corporate video, which will tell you about business to people, so I can have a sip of water.
What if you knew all of your customers personally? What if you could actually sit down with each of your prospects and answer their questions, address their concerns, and tailor your interactions such that you could personally guide them through their decision journey by having a conversation about their goals, their preferences, their interests. You gain an understanding of their challenges and motivations, one that allows you to reach out with an idea or an offering that fits their unique needs. What if you could shake every customer's hand and thank them for their valuable business, a gesture that could make millions feel like 1 in a million? Virtually, you can. People-based marketing is the next generation of digital personalization that reaches beyond the addressable customer experience, building on the one-to-one dynamic of direct marketing, moving into a real-time conversation that considers the individual, not solely the persona, one that shifts from a focus on targeting devices to one that reaches real people. Now we can connect the dots between data, analytics, platforms, and digital consumer identities across media and devices. We're able to bridge the gaps in our fragmented marketing landscape to deliver the right message to the right person at the right time, and to create a loop where the purchase funnel becomes the purchase cycle. We then go from B to B or B to C to the language of B to P. Reveal.
Oh, that's enough for the corporate stuff. But you may have a cynical turn amongst the audience who say, "Yeah, that's a corporate video. That's the big promise." But there are businesses out there, clients of ours, and some businesses who are doing it on their own, or that are using predictive analytics to really help customers get what they want, to find things, and off the back of that, drive commercial returns which drive their business, which allows them to keep going and investing more in data. I've got one client that has used decisioning and next best actions to increase their NPS score, which is their key performance indicator, the main one for their business, from 73% to 87% in the first year of implementation. Truth's in the data for them. We've got another one where, and this is a major UK telco, where 90% of the service offers that they sell through customer interactions come from next best action recommendations. That drives them 4.5%, it's actually now 5% less churn. On every transaction, this is for a telco, that adds £4 of value per customer per transaction as an average, which means overall that's driving them 62% more value than they were getting from those customers 4 years ago before they introduced next best action decisioning. So for them, the truth's in the data, the truth's in the product of your work, and big companies are wanting to engage with it. So it's child's play, really. Data is the future. We really believe in that, and it's what is helping companies be nice to their customers. I've jumped the slide. This was going to be your one. Well, a bit more about what we do at Merkle. We're about orchestrating data over the technology. If you're interested in our proposition, or you're interested in more about how you might be able to work with us, because we do have opportunities, then do feel free to grab Alistair or I afterwards, or drop us an email. Or you can speak to recruiters. Do you want to pause for questions? We want to jump into the... Right.